It started with a notification. A stupid, innocuous buzz on my phone at 10:37 p.m. on a Tuesday. I was elbows deep in a quarterly financial report for work, the blue light of my laptop washing out the cozy glow of my apartment. The phone screen lit up, a message from my older brother, Ben. Just a photo, no caption. Probably another meme about our hometown football team losing, or a pic of his dog. I almost ignored it. I wish to God I had. But my brain, trained by a lifetime of be responsive, be available, be the good daughter, made my thumb swipe and tap. It wasn't a dog. It was a screenshot. A screenshot of a group chat I wasn't in. The header read, Family Strategy, no Maya. The members, Mom, Dad, Ben, and my younger sister, Chloe. The last few messages were crystal clear, lit by the harsh fluorescence of my phone screen. Dad, the transfer came through. Mortgage is covered for another 6 months. Smooth as butter. Mom, see? I told you she wouldn't question the property tax emergency. She's too generous for her own good. Ben, generous? More like gullible. Just keep the guilt trips coming. The we sacrificed everything line works every time. Chloe, LOL for real. I'm just glad she paid off my credit card. The student wellness fee story was genius, Mom. Mom, we have to be careful. But honestly, she's too stupid to realize we're using her. It's been, 5 years since she finished college. And she still just hands it over. Dad, don't say stupid. Say financially empathetic. Our little family ATM. Does her job well, doesn't ask questions. The words didn't compute at first. They floated in my vision, disconnected symbols. Family ATM, stupid, gullible. Using her. My own parents. My siblings. My breath hitched, a sharp, painful pull in my chest that had nothing to do with air. The room tilted. The financial report on my screen blurred into a gray smear. A high-pitched ringing started in my ears, drowning out the soft hum of my refrigerator. I scrolled up. I had to. It was like picking at a scab, knowing it would bleed but unable to stop. The chat went back months. Years. A meticulous, sickening ledger of every lie, every manufactured crisis, every extracted dollar. There was the furnace explosion of winter 2021. I'd sent $8,000. The screenshot showed Dad sending a laughing emoji after depositing it. Told you the sob story about frostbite would get her. They'd gone on a cruise to the Caribbean that February. There was Mom's urgent spinal surgery last year, $15,000 for a specialist not covered by insurance. I'd taken a personal loan. The group chat showed a picture of my mom getting a luxurious spa treatment, captioned by Chloe. Physical therapy, Maya style. My gift of a down payment for Ben's new truck, discussed as Operation Hall. My consistent covering of their retirement fund shortfall, an extra $1,000 a month I'd been squeezing from my budget since I got my first promotion, labeled ATM monthly maintenance. Every birthday check I'd written, every holiday bonus I'd shared, every time I'd said, no worries, family first, when my own vacation fund dwindled, it was all there. Itemized. Mocked. My love, my deepest instinct to protect and provide for the people who made me, had been reduced to a running joke in a secret digital vault. A dry, heaving sob escaped my throat. I felt physically sick. The betrayal wasn't a single stab. It was 1,000 paper cuts, each message a new slice, revealing a raw, ugly truth I'd been blind to for 28 years. Memories, once warm, now rewired themselves with horrific clarity. Mom crying on the phone about the furnace, her voice trembling. I'd felt so strong, so capable, soothing her. I'd been proud to help. Now I saw the actress behind the curtain, hewing the tears. Dad's slumped shoulders of failure as he confessed the property tax blunder. I'd hugged him, told him everyone makes mistakes. I'd been comforting my manipulator. My whole identity crumbled. I wasn't the successful, dependable daughter. I was the mark. The pigeon. The family ATM. The phone buzzed again in my shaking hand. A new message from Ben, this time to me directly. Ben, shit. Maya, that screenshot. I meant to send it to Chloe. Please don't freak out. It's just jokes. You know how they are. Jokes. The word was a spark in a gas tank. The numbness shattered, incinerated by a white-hot rage so pure it felt clean. My fingers flew over the screen, trembling not from hurt now, but from fury. Me jokes. Right. I've just read the jokes from the last 3 years. The furnace joke. The spinal surgery joke. The she's too stupid joke. Hilarious. 3 typing bubbles appeared. Disappeared. Reappeared. It was Mom. Mom, honey, please. You're taking this out of context. We adore you. We brag about you all the time. That chat is just, it's hard to ask for help. We use dark humor to cope with the shame. The audacity. The sheer, breathtaking audacity. They felt shame. I could barely breathe. Me. The only shame here is mine, for believing you. For believing I was loved, not leveraged. Do not contact me again. I didn't wait for a reply. I blocked every single one of them. On WhatsApp, iMessage, regular calls. Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. It was a surgical, methodical severing. With each block, a thread of my old life snapped. The pain was excruciating, a visceral tearing, but beneath it was a strange, nascent thrum, a terrifying freedom. The next 72 hours were a blur of grim logistics through a haze of grief. I called my bank. I explained, my voice eerily calm, that I was revoking all authorizations for transfers to 3 specific accounts and needed to flag any future requests. I contacted a lawyer, a sharp, no-nonsense woman named Elena who listened without flinching. Financial exploitation by family is more common than you think, she said, her voice gentle but firm. We drafted a cease and desist letter, stating clearly that all financial support was terminated and any further attempts to contact me for money would be considered harassment. I sent it via certified mail to my parents' address. Then, I collapsed. The adrenaline drained, leaving a hollowed-out shell. I cried for days. Not delicate tears, but great, wrenching sobs that came from a place I didn't know existed. I grieved for the parents I thought I had. I grieved for the siblings who were my first friends. I grieved for the naive, loving girl who was dead and gone. The apartment felt like a tomb. I ignored work emails. The world outside my windows seemed to move on, brightly and cruelly indifferent to the cataclysm in my heart. A week after the screenshot, as I'd come to call it in my head, the landline in my apartment rang. I almost never used it. Few people had the number. A cold dread settled in my stomach. I picked up. Maya, sweetheart. It's Aunt Lorraine, my mother's younger sister. Her voice was warm, laced with a concern that sounded genuine. For a second, my fractured heart leapt. Auntie. A lifeline. Then, the new, hardened part of me, the part forged in the fire of that group chat, went still and alert. Aunt Lorraine. Oh, honey, I just heard. Your mom is devastated. She's been crying nonstop. Whatever this is about, it's breaking your family apart. You know how much they love you. We all love you. The script was so familiar. The emotional summoning. The invocation of family. It used to be my gospel. What exactly did they tell you, Aunt Lorraine? A slight pause. Well, that there was a silly misunderstanding over some money, and you've blown it all out of proportion. That you're cutting them off and breaking your mother's heart. Maya, family forgives. We don't throw people away over pride. I took a slow breath. Did they tell you they had a secret group chat called Family Strategy? No, Maya. Did they tell you they've been fabricating emergencies for years to get money from me, while calling me their ATM and laughing about how stupid I am for falling for it? Silence. A long, heavy silence. Then, a hesitant, Maya, that can't be right. Your parents, they're good people. They're struggling. Maybe they said some things they didn't mean. I have the screenshots, Aunt Lorraine. Hundreds of them. Would you like me to email them to you? You can read, in their own words, how they planned to lie about a spinal surgery. How they joked about my gullibility. How my dad called me the Family ATM. Another pause. Her voice changed, grew smaller, confused. They said it was for property taxes and your mom's back. It was all lies. Every single crisis since I got my first real job. They've siphoned over $85,000 from me, Aunt Lorraine. Not as gifts I willingly gave, as payments I made to liars. I heard a sharp intake of breath. 85, my God. There was a long exhale. When she spoke again, the placating tone was gone, replaced by a raw shock. Maya, I had no idea. Your mother. She told me you were being selfish, that you changed. I just wanted to help fix it. It can't be fixed, I said, and the finality in my own voice surprised me. The person they were pretending to love doesn't exist. I was just a function to them. A wallet. I won't be that anymore. Aunt Lorraine was quiet for a long time. I believe you. she finally whispered, sounding older. I'm so sorry, Maya. So terribly sorry. This is monstrous. Then, almost to herself, no wonder your Uncle Rick and I always wondered how they were affording those trips. That call was a crack in the dam. Over the next month, the family grapevine, once a tool of their control, began to turn. Cousins reached out, tentatively. Some were flying monkeys, sent to guilt me. I'd reply with a single, brutal screenshot. The too stupid line usually did the trick, and the messages would stop. Others, like Aunt Lorraine, were genuinely horrified. My cousin Jake, a guy I'd always been close to, drove 2 hours to see me. He brought beer and just sat with me on my couch. I always thought it was weird how they talked about your money, he admitted. Like it was community property. It creeped me out, but I never imagined this. The solidarity from unexpected corners was a balm, but it didn't fill the crater. I started therapy. Dr. Evans helped me untangle a lifetime of conditioned behavior, the parentification, the guilt-based loyalty, the erased boundaries. I learned words like covert narcissism and financial enmeshment. I began to see the patterns that started long before the money, being the easy child who never caused trouble, the peacemaker, the one whose needs were always gently brushed aside for the greater family good. My worth had always been transactional. The money just made the currency explicit. Meanwhile, the cease and desist letter had arrived. The response was not an apology, but a siege. My parents, realizing their ATM was truly offline, escalated. They showed up at my apartment building. I saw them on the security feed, my mother's face tear-streaked and dramatic, my father's stern and entitled. I didn't buzz them in. I called the police for a trespass warning. The image of a patrol car idling outside as my parents argued with an officer, their respectability shattered in front of my neighbors, was surreal and deeply satisfying. Then came the social media campaign. My sister Chloe, the LOL in the group chat, posted a long, vague-booking tribute to families sticking together through misunderstandings, with old photos of us as kids. The comments were flooded with their allies. Praying for your family. Children should honor their parents. Ben's wife posted a verse about forgiveness. It was a masterclass in smear campaigning, painting me as the cold, ungrateful daughter who abandoned her family over a misunderstanding. I didn't engage. Dr. Evans and I had prepared for this. Do not jade, justify, argue, defend, explain, she'd said. It gives their narrative oxygen. Instead, I lived my life. I posted pictures of my hike with Jake. I shared a photo of the new bookshelf I'd built myself. I was silent, whole, and utterly unreachable. My silence was my fortress. The financial and emotional space I'd reclaimed began to reshape my world. For the first time in my adult life, I had a savings account that grew. I booked a solo trip to Portugal simply because I could. I said no to extra projects at work without the frantic need to prove my worth. The constant, low-grade anxiety that had been my soundtrack, the worry that someone might need something I couldn't provide, slowly faded. In its place was a profound, sometimes lonely, peace. For months after the screenshot, I was finally starting to breathe. Then, my grandfather, my dad's father, Papa Joe, had a heart attack. Papa Joe was different. A quiet, kind man who'd always slipped me butterscotch candies and asked about my books, not my job. He was the only one from my dad's side who hadn't reached out to lecture me, though I knew the pressure on him must have been immense. The news came via a text from a cousin. He's in St. Mary's. It's bad. My heart seized. This was no fabrication. I loved him. The thought of not saying goodbye was unthinkable. But going to that hospital meant walking into the lion's den. I decided to go. Not for them. For me, and for Papa Joe. I dressed in simple black, armed myself with a steely resolve, and asked Jake to come as my buffer. We walked into the ICU waiting room, and the air froze. My mother, red-eyed, looked up from a chair where my father was patting her hand. Her face cycled through shock, then a performative hope, then a venomous glare, all in 2 seconds. Ben and Chloe, huddled in a corner, fell silent. Maya, my father said, his voice a low warning. This isn't the place. I'm not here for you, I said, my voice clear and calm in the hushed room. I'm here for Papa Joe. What's his room number? You have no right, my mother began, her devastated, mask slipping into pure rage. She's his granddaughter. She has every right. Jake stepped slightly forward, his presence solid beside me. A nurse, sensing the tension, appeared. Are you family for Joseph? I'm his granddaughter, Maya, I said, ignoring the glares burning into my back. The nurse nodded, checking a list. He's in 407. He's sedated, but you can sit with him briefly. I turned and walked down the hall, feeling their eyes like lasers between my shoulder blades. The room was quiet, beeping with the rhythm of life support. Papa Joe looked small, 1,000 years old. I took his cool, papery hand. Hi, Papa, I whispered, my throat tight. It's Maya. I'm here. I just sat, pouring every ounce of the love I still had in my ravaged heart into that silent room, into his hand. I told him I loved him, that I was okay, that I was free. I didn't know if he could hear me, but I needed to say it. After 20 minutes, I kissed his forehead and left. As I walked back into the waiting room, they were waiting. The audience was assembled. My mother stood, blocking my path to the exit. You see what you've done? She hissed, her voice trembling with manufactured emotion for the benefit of the other waiting families. The stress of your betrayal, this is on you. The old me would have crumbled under the weight of that accusation. The new me saw it for what it was, a last, desperate manipulation. I stopped and looked at her. Really looked. I saw the carefully curated grief, the calculation in her eyes. I saw my father behind her, not as my protector, but as her co-conspirator. I saw my siblings as scared children, trapped in her orbit, willing to sacrifice me to stay in her good graces. No, I said, the word quiet but absolute. The only thing on me is the realization that I deserved better parents than the two of you. I hope, for your sake, you one day feel the shame you pretended to have. But I won't be around to see it. I turned to Ben and Chloe. You traded a sister for a cut of the cash. I hope it keeps you warm. And I walked out. Jake followed, a silent sentinel. We didn't speak until we were in the car. My hands were shaking, but my soul was still. I had faced them. I had loved my grandfather on my own terms. I had not bent. Papa Joe passed away 2 days later. I went to the funeral, sitting in the back row with Aunt Lorraine and Jake. I ignored the dagger stares from the family pew. During the eulogy, my father spoke of the importance of families sticking together, his gaze finding me in the crowd. I held it, then slowly, deliberately, looked away. My disengagement was my final word. The will was read a week later. To the shock of everyone, especially my father, Papa Joe had left me his small, paid-off lakeside cabin, the place where I'd spent the happiest summers of my childhood. In the letter attached, his shaky handwriting read, "For my Maya, who always knew the value of quiet and the truth of her own heart. May this be a place of peace. I am sorry for what you have borne." He'd known. Maybe not the specifics, but he'd seen the dynamic. The cabin was his apology and his blessing. My parents tried to contest it. They called it undue influence, claiming I'd manipulated a sick old man. Their lawyer sent a threatening letter. My lawyer, Elena, replied with a blistering counter-threat to sue them for the return of every defrauded dollar, with interest, and to make the group chat screenshots public in a civil complaint. The contestation was dropped immediately. The prospect of their meticulously crafted, respectable facade being aired in a courtroom, with evidence, was a nuclear deterrent they hadn't anticipated. I sold my apartment, not out of fear, but out of a desire for a true fresh start. I moved into the cabin. It's small, it smells of pine and old books, and it is entirely, unequivocally mine. Every morning I drink my coffee on the dock, watching the mist rise off the lake, and I feel a sense of belonging I never felt in the house I grew up in. The money I recovered, not all of it, but a significant settlement my lawyer negotiated once they realized I was prepared to go to court. I used to pay off my remaining debt and set up a scholarship at the local community college for students studying financial literacy. I named it the Self-Worth Scholarship. The irony is not lost on me. It's been a year now. The grief comes in waves, less frequent, but still sharp. I miss the fantasy. I miss the family I believed I had on Christmas mornings and birthday calls. But I do not miss them, the people they truly are. I am learning who Maya is, separate from the role of Family ATM. She likes kayaking at dawn. She's terrible at gardening, but is trying anyway. She's building a friend group based on mutual respect, not obligation. She is healing. Sometimes, in my darkest moments, I think of that group chat name, Family Strategy, no Maya. They were right to exclude me. Their strategy was exploitation. My presence would have spoiled the game. My absence from it was what finally saved me. I am no one's ATM. I am my own vault, my own treasury, and the value I hold within, my resilience, my capacity for love on my own terms, my hard-won peace, is a currency they can never deplete. The account is closed. And for the first time in my life, I am rich.